And I really love the fact that you could do two things. I love the ability to sign it, the automated signature. I thought was really, really cool. And then I also like the idea of lockable content that only the owners get. So I did some fun stuff with that. So that was a really fun thing. And I felt like this NFT thing was something I didn't know about, but excited me as a creative person.
BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap will get you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.com. Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, the largest crypto channel in all the interwebs. My name is Ben. Every day on this channel, I show you how to make money in cryptocurrency. If you like money in crypto, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Today, guys, in this video, I sat down with Joe Gatto of Impractical Jokers to discuss his upcoming NFT release that you can get your hands on at OpenSea. We will have the link down below. Gotta say, Joe is an awesome guy. I had a great time talking to him. I think you're gonna get a lot out of this video.
I touch oven my cats, mostly.
Let's go ahead and jump in. Hey everybody, I am pleased to be joined by Joe Gatto of the show Impractical Jokers. All you guys know him, love him, probably laugh at him. For people that don't know Joe, can you just kind of explain a little bit about your story and what you do in the entertainment world?
Sure, Ben. I'll also explain to you because I loved your candid saying I don't necessarily know who you are, but people in the office do. So I love that.
So many people in my audience.
I love you straight up.
Look, I know who you are. I mean, I know what the show is. I know who you are. I don't watch a lot of, non-Netflix, I guess you could say, but I know I've seen a few minutes of the show. I've saw something where, you guys are doing Impractical Jokes.
Great job. See, look at you. You're an expert.
Thank you.
I'm from the TV show Impractical Jokers. We're in our ninth season on True TV. Been doing it for about a decade. And, I'm also on the Misery Index game show on TBS, which is a lot of fun. And I've been, a comedian and photographer and just creative type my whole life. So I'm excited to be talking about the whole NFT market.
So one of the things that I really like about what I do is that I've been able to bring like a lot of my friends, like, a lot of people know TJ's, my business partner, we're good friends. And then a lot of people that work here, like good friends that I brought on. And my wife says, you guys kind of have a similar story with Impractical Jokers, right?
Yeah. I know the guys. So me and the guys have been friends since high school. We met freshman year of high school. So 30 years of friendship. Longer than most marriages. And we've been doing comedy together. We formed our comedy troupe, the Tenderloins, in 1999. And we started with doing just improv comedy here in New York. We're from New York City and doing improv comedy, moved on to sketch comedy, tried a couple failed TV shows, and then finally hit success with our version of the hidden camera comedy show, Impractical Jokers. And, we like to say we're a 16-year overnight success. And then, we got into touring. We tour live, which is great. I've been fortunate enough to tour all over the U.S., play the Garden here in New York, the Boston Garden we played. I got over to London a couple of times. We toured over there. I got to play the O2 in London. So it's been a really crazy ride. I'm super fortunate. Yeah,
that's awesome. And like I said, that's one thing I really enjoy about what I do is being able to work with my friends. I know that's something you probably, had a lot of fun, a lot of success with. And I think really as we move into kind of talking about NFTs and the world of cryptocurrency, you and I are fortunate. We get to do what we love and we get to have fun doing it. Not everybody, they're in that position. They, might be working a job. And I think what we're seeing is we are seeing a big change in the economy and the world of careers and the world of trading and investing and making money. And we're just like in this new generation. So what I hope for my audience is that eventually they get to learn what that's like and they get to do a lot of fun stuff because of the, money that's available in cryptocurrency and kind of this new economy here. So let's get into, Joe, let's talk a little bit about your NFT, how you got into the world of NFTs and, kind of just explain that.
Yeah. So I was, of course, it came onto everybody's radar in a big way, especially in the celebrity world, with the Gronk collection of his cards and the big story that wrapped around that. And, I know it's been around for a long time before that. I also don't know much about it, which I also excites me a little bit too. So
that's very candid. You actually admitted that you didn't know something. That's quality I like in people.
That's good to say. I mean, good people know. Good people know, right? But so I was like, I have always been. I've been a photographer for a long time. I tongue in cheek call my photography photography. It's a pun.
No, I like
yeah,
that.
It's great. It's genius. So I actually made the banner on my NFT page on OpenSea to have the photography. So just to have a little bit of my personality on that page. But we, so I've always, been a fan of sharing my art. So over the past couple, I guess 4 or 5 years, I've had like a gallery where I did prints that people bought. I had a gallery for a weekend, which was a lot of fun in the city. And then I just recently did a coffee table book called The Dog Father, where I took pictures of all my rescue dogs. And I told stories about them. So I put that together and I self-published that through Amazon and worked with Adobe, the Adobe suite to create it, which I always loved and enjoyed. And then my next reason to do something creative was like the NFT. I was like, what am I going to do for the NFT? And I had a idea for a while to take pictures of this figurine that I affectionately called Little Belly. He's based on a character from the TV show. I played Captain Fat Belly in one of the punishments, and a fan had sent it over to me. And so I took some photography with it. And then I really loved the fact that you could do 2 things. I love the ability to sign it, the automated signature. I thought was really, really cool. Mm-hmm. And then I also liked the idea of lockable content that only the owners get. So I did some fun stuff with that. So that was a really fun thing. And I felt like this NFT thing was something I didn't know about, but excited me as a creative person.
Yeah. And I think the automated or the animated signature, I think that's one of the coolest features about this, I think. And that's something that I believe we're going to see a lot more of. It's kind of like the next evolution, because what we saw at first was, people were putting out NFTs and they just put out a still image or whatever it is. But now I think what a lot of the people who are wanting to get involved in NFTs, that have an audience is what they're seeing is you got to have something that separates yours. And when I'm looking at your photography here with the signature and things like that, I think that's definitely a big feature of your pieces here.
Yeah. And I'm a big collectible and memorabilia guy. I'm pretty nostalgic. I have some stuff from some of my favorite movies growing up and some of my favorite signatures people.
Do you? I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at there it is. Wow.
Oh, right, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I like nostalgia too. I knocked Mike Tyson out as a kid. So
that's great. Yeah. I don't sleep on, you've got the Kool-Aid guy right there,
Absolutely. So you got to sip the crypto Kool-Aid. Sounds like you're starting to sip it a little bit.
You know what? I did say, and I said to you before a little bit before we got on into the interview, like I really am excited about just the cryptocurrency. I feel like it's our generation's thing, which could be kind of fun because it's a way to discover and invest and make money that is specific to our generation. We had talked earlier, like my parents, I'm 45 years old. So my parents, it was the stock market. My grandfather was like building his own business because a lot of people, it wasn't as easy to do back in the day, right? And he was an immigrant over from Italy. He built a tomato business from the ground up and had the biggest tomato company in Staten Island. So like those kind of like success stories of like that, of finding a cool way to invest your money and make something happen. I really think that that's what this whole cryptocurrency thing does for this generation.
Yeah. So when you were on stage and you told a bad joke, would you think it was an honor if they threw tomatoes at you then?
Yes, I was. It would be research.
I love it.
It's a business. It's a tax write-off.
Yeah. But, I talk crypto a lot. It's what I do. And, the idea that this is kind of our generation's way to launch businesses, kind of like, with your father's your father and grandfather's, businesses and things like that. That was a good opportunity for them. This is this generation's opportunity is through cryptocurrency and, gamifying things and NFTs. And I thought that was really interesting because I've never heard anybody say that before. And I think it really lines up like with what our mission statement here at BitBoy Crypto and our greater hit network that we do some other shows on is, elevating potential to success in the new economy. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a totally new economy. And if you think about it, comedians will probably always be around, right? But most jobs probably gonna be taken by AI and automation. What do you think about that?
I mean, I could tell a joke funnier than a robot, I hope.
I hope so. I could give you this laugh back in return, though. Ha, ha, ha.
That's pretty good. If I record that, I guess I could play it at any time that I want. So
yeah,
I guess it's the same thing. But yeah, I mean, you have to always, that's what human evolution is, right? It's like, new things come and you have to either like jump in or be left behind with stuff. It's just the way the world is. And I personally, my personality is to be excited by these things and not be like, oh, I used to walk uphill both ways. Like if there's a better way to get to school, if I could ride my automated Segway to school instead of having to walk uphill both ways, like that's smarter, so I'm not afraid of that. And I think that's kind of cool. So I do think it's important. And a lot of people are just scared because there's two things at play with the whole crypto market, right? There's money, there's real money involved. Like you're putting it, I dove in and had to invest real money to try to do this whole thing. But then there's also just so much information. So things like your show helps with that, but there's also just so much to digest. Even if I just watched your show, there's so much that you have to talk about and cover. It's really just a little bit intimidating.
Yeah. And I definitely can relate to that because, we try to be a very beginner friendly channel, but even sometimes people come up and they'll say something to me like, oh, you were talking about this very simple thing and it was way over my head. And I'm just like, oh, that's my greatest fear is that I talk over people's heads. I never want to do that. And I think that's something we try to do on the channel is relate to people because we understand this is a big thing. Like I didn't just like one day wake up and read a book and I'm like, oh, I got it all now. Like the only reason why we're so immersive on this channel is because for years and years and years, I was researching and doing videos. And, there is a very steep learning curve to crypto. And we certainly hope one day that goes away when people are able to use NFTs and use blockchain and use crypto without necessarily knowing they're doing it. Because I always say like with the stock market, people are investing in Tesla. Like, do they understand the way a Tesla engine works?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. But the market has made it easy for people to get in and get in the stock world. We believe crypto is actually easier to get in the stock world when people start to understand it. But it's kind of like, Rome wasn't built in a day. And for anybody who's newer to crypto, I just encourage you like small bite at a time, just learn a little bit at a time. So what do you know about crypto? What are some cryptocurrencies that you are familiar with?
Well, I have Bitcoin. I got into Bitcoin at my cousin, Michael Polano gave me a little bit of an overview and we talked about it and stuff. And I dove in for a little bit of Bitcoin. And then I got Ethereum, of course, because you need Ethereum to trade the NFTs. So I got a little bit of that. But besides that, now I'm kind of just like understanding and I want to like kind of understand what I'm buying. So like they were kind of for a purpose. So like the Bitcoin thing I jumped on because I was like, hey, I can make some money here if I jump in at the right time. And I jumped in at the right time, which was nice. And then with Ethereum, it's because of utility. Like I want to actually use cryptocurrency. So it's interesting to have to like even the two different things that I own. One was just to catch the wave. And then the second one was like to actually do business. So it's kind of fun just to see within, and that was within like 7 months or 6 months or 7 months to just see already in a different way with two different currencies.
We call it becoming more degenerate. That's what we call it here.
Okay.
Sure you can relate to that. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's very interesting. I think your comments there about Ethereum, and that's why we push Ethereum big time on this channel, because you have to have it to do so many things. People that have these narratives as like, oh, the Ethereum price didn't go up this week, so we should sell it. Like that's not a good way to look at it. This is a big long-term, move. Now you said about 6 or 7 months. You bought Bitcoin 6 or 7 months ago.
Yeah.
So back in August, September-ish. Sometime around there,
maybe October? I think it was. I think it was October. Yeah, October.
Pretty good time to get in it then, huh?
Yeah, it was a smart time. It was pretty smart.
It's a smart time. Yeah, you're looking like Joey the Genius is what they're gonna have to probably call you.
Well, my cousin made a very good point to me because I love to gamble. I'm a gambler, and of course with the state of the world, I didn't get to much because I didn't get to much casinos. So my cousin was like, "All right, so how much would you put at the craps table?" It was like, "Put that in Bitcoin." So that what you were done this year, and it was a very smart move by him, and it was a good analogy because he was like, "Hey, you know what? You didn't spend that money, so see what happens with it." And the bet played out. So it's cool.
You're in house money at this point.
Yes, that's right.
That's good. You're probably doing pretty well if that's when you bought it. I mean, I guess Bitcoin was around, 10,000 around that time. I don't know where you got it at, but it's been all uphill since then. So cool. Well, listen, let's talk about this because this is something I'm very interested in because I'm trapped in this world of crypto here. You're in this world of entertainment. I know we're starting to tap into the world of sports right now. I've got some big, sports celebrities coming on the show pretty soon, hopefully. But what do you think? Do you hear anybody else kind of in, the entertainment world that that you're friends with talking about crypto? Is it something that is starting to catch a little buzz?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just between the guys that I work with, they're all looking at a project to put in there. And then you'll see a lot of music, a lot of artists are putting out, the albums and digital stuff like that. I feel like every week you see one or two new things that are coming out. And I think there's going to be a tipping point where people are like, there's going to be people that are doing it just to try to, catch a trend. And there's going to be people to do it because they're interested in a way to actually share their content. So I think it's going to be interesting to see who survives that, where people are just like, oh, you're not putting out something that you're proud of. Like I'm proud of what I did for it.
Yeah, they're
like,
cool.
We'll
put them on the screen, and we'll have links for people to check out the Little Belly collection.
Yeah.
I'm actually coming out with a second collection called the Big Belly collection. So
okay, great.
That will
Big
be
Belly collection too. Right.
Yeah, it'll just be a picture of me, and that's what people say. Anyway,
I was actually going to do like a side by side with my shirt off and do like a cover of like Vogue.
Oh, there's Little Belly. Let's see him pull him up so that people can. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, there's Little Belly.
And here's
Little Belly.
Sorry, there's Big Belly to the side here. Yeah. So
I'm pretty big belly too. So we're on the same boat.
It's called being a man. Let's be honest. Okay. Let's be honest about it. So here we go. I want to. Can I pitch to you here? Like I just want to pitch to you here. Okay. It's a skit. It's a Impractical Jokers prank where basically you just create a really terrible NFT and then try to sell it to kids. What do you think?
That's not bad. We actually had an idea for a punishment on the show because Sal is he like analyzes a lot. Like he takes in information. His brain works in a way that I don't know any other human that does. It's amazing the way it works. And he's trying to understand the whole NFT thing. So we were actually saying that we were going to get a room full of crypto experts and put Sal in and have to make him present what exactly NFTs are and the best way to use them.
Yeah, well,
a room full of people. His brain would malfunction. I think it would like short out and just fall on the floor.
Well, I'll sign up. I'll come
Okay.
throw darts at him. And so
Great.
pretty good. But you think about like, I know you guys do punishments on the show and stuff like that. And I was just sitting here thinking like, like fantasy football leagues, when people lose, they have to, go dress up like a lady and stand on the corner and, or whatever it is where the other team
bets. Mm-hmm.
Imagine up in the ante here where you go do the punishment, but you also turn it into an NFT, because then it's not just one day you're having to live through. They're NFTs of you, humiliating yourself. And that sounds to be right up your alley.
Yes. And somebody owns your humiliation, which is
somebody.
Nice. You say, I own Joe's humiliation. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's definitely something pretty cool. So let's talk just kind of to wrap things up here. You want to just talk a little bit about like, what are your plans for, you're just going to do this one series and that's going to be it. Kind of what is I know you talked about the nostalgia, the collect, you got movie stuff behind you there. Like, do you have like kind of a bigger picture of what you want to do with NFTs, or is this just, you're going to release this one thing and that's going to be it? Kind of, what is your mindset on that?
Well, I released this series as one of ones, just like the only ones that you could get. And then I did really enjoy the photography of taking the pictures of Little Belly. And I have a bunch of different ideas. And we also, like I mentioned earlier, we tour, and we're going to start our tour up again. When the world opens back up, I think we're starting up towards the end of the year or whatever it is. But I would love to take him on the road with me. And then I would have a collection of him just all around, which is really fun. So I think there'll be that. And then I also have some ideas for video, a couple little video clip things that I was going to do, but the potential is just so there. Like, that's what I'm really excited about. But I think it'll always live in a photography kind of world, because that's the way my creative juices flow, is really just in, the still image and cool ways to take pictures. So. Yeah.
And we could do the NFT of my robotic laugh. Ha, 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 ha.
I was thinking actually that would be the signature on all of them now, as my automated signature comes in.
So these, I didn't realize until you just said that, like, these are all one of ones. So how many?
7.
There's 7. Okay.
7.
Look at the collection. Let me hit view all. I'm looking at this kind of, on the screen here.
Oh,
these are pretty cool. I like the one where he's looking in the mirror.
That's he's reflecting on himself. He's a true hero, taking it all in.
Yeah. I mean, if you switch this green out for gray and orange, this would be me probably, I think. So, that's good.
Maybe next series we could do you
maybe next series. And so your idea is like you sell these and people have these, and then eventually you go on tour, you go do stuff, and you take them with you, kind of like Bernie Sanders and all of that stuff, but cool.
Yes, exactly right. The same exact idea. It's really
same exact idea.
Lil Belly is the Bernie Sanders of NFTs. That's what I like to say.
I love it. I'm a big fan. So, awesome. Well, Joe, this has been really interesting. I'm definitely going to be watching these NFTs to see how they do. I hope you sell all of them. And I hope they resale and they get the nostalgia value for somebody else. For everything that you do. So I'm very interested to see how the traveling goes eventually. I think that'll be cool. And things are coming on the show. Is there anything else you want to leave us with today?
No, I just want to say quick appreciation to you, man. I think it's really important what you're doing here to try to make this Scary World digestible to people. You have a really good way to, like, I've watched a bunch of your stuff. You have a really good way of explaining things and making it definitely like digestible to people who are a little intimidated by it. And it's a fun thing to be part of, and you're having fun with it. So congratulations to you. And I'm glad that you're having a good time with it.
I appreciate it. That means a lot. That means a lot to me, because that is the number one thing we strive to do, is just be relatable and simple and, explain crypto to people in a way that's not intimidating. So that's a big honor to hear you say that. So I'm definitely, like I said, going to look forward to this collection. If anybody wants to go check out the collection, we'll put the OpenSea link down below. You guys go put some bids on this stuff. Let's see where it can go. And anybody else who's watching right now, if you guys have any questions, you guys can put those down in the comments. We'll try to get to them. I guess that's all we got. Be blessed.
That's it. Yep. Thanks so much for having me, man.
Absolutely. Be blessed. Good boy out.
Okay. Bye.